All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of College and Career Pathways, where every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 2 p.m., we provide you with information on various colleges and universities, financial aid resources, training, schools, technical programs, skilled trade professions, employment opportunities, career exploration, and career readiness skills, all designed to help you make the best career decisions possible. I'm Toni Curtin, your host, and today we will be speaking with Colleen again from Michigan Government and Schools Credit Union.
Same thing
Yay!
you did last time. Nope.
No, I
Michigan
gotta flip
Schools
it
and
again.
Government Credit Union.
Michigan Schools and Government Credit Union, and we are still in our financial literacy series. Today's subject will be understanding checking accounts. So, Colleen, welcome back. Thank you for joining us. We're so glad to have you.
Thank you very much. I'm pulling up.
Oh,
Okay, so today, as Ms. Curtin mentioned, we're looking at checking accounts. And it should be one slide before here. Yeah. The basics of debit accounts. I'm not starting from the beginning of everything about checking accounts, but kind of focusing on debit cards and using a debit card properly. I'm going to take a guess that most of you have a checking account already. If you do not have a checking account, I recommend looking into it. These two cards almost look exactly the same. This one is a debit card and this one is a credit card. How do you possibly tell the difference? You reach in your wallet, you pull a card out. Other than having it memorized, how do you know if it's a debit card or credit card? This little debit, this little word debit above the Visa here is really the only way to tell. The machines know it's a debit card, but for you, if you say, oh, it's a debit credit card, it's a debit card, I mean credit card, whatever. No, there's a debit card and there's a credit card. They are two very different things. So we are looking at just the debit card. So purchasing, paying for items with your debit card, that's really the fun part, right? That's, more than just being able to go to the ATM, but ordering things online, ordering over the phone. So there's multiple ways to make a purchase. You just got to recognize which one you're choosing. You can have the, square, put the chip in, you can swipe your card online if you're paying bills or if you're making a purchase. It'll allow you to type in either your debit card or credit card. Can anyone tell me where the money comes from when you pay with your debit card? Okay, well, it's always your checking account. Okay, so those of you that have a debit card, when you go to the store, you're up at the register, and it becomes such a habit now of just swiping your card or just sticking it in. Do you notice when it asks you debit or credit? Or the cashier might even say, pick here for debit and here for credit. Or would you like credit or debit? A standard assumption is, they're asking me if I'm using a debit card or a credit card. And, I'm just going to pick debit because I'm using a debit card. I can see the line of thinking. That makes sense. However, that's not what they're asking you. The machine knows it's a debit card. It can't possibly have a debit option with a credit card. So what the machine is asking you is, would you like to use the debit option or the credit option within your debit card? So those of you that are more familiar with choosing the debit option, what's going to happen is it'll ask you to enter your PIN, the 4-digit PIN, the same one you use at the ATM. Not everywhere, but often you'll see a screen that offers you cash back. Would you like cash back? And just say no, no, no. But that's a great opportunity. I mean, if you're thinking, you know what, I got to pay Miss Curtin back that $20 I owe her, I forgot. Or, we're all going to the ice cream stand after errands today and they only take cash. Or my favorite, you know what, I'm on vacation, I'm out of state, I'm visiting someone. Maybe I know where the nearest free ATM is, but maybe I have a car. So I'm gonna walk into the nearest Walgreens, CVS, be like, oh, this is a nice pen. You guys do cash back? All right, I'll take this pen and $80 cash back, please. And it's a free ATM. It's a way to access your own money. And it is your money. If you go to CVS, CVS is not just handing you $20. If you purchase something for $20 and say, I would also like $20 cash back, $40 is being taken out of your debit account or checking account. It's the same thing when referred to debit account or checking account. It is real time. You pay your $20, plus you get your $20 in cash. You're walking out of the store, you log on to the mobile app, and it says, oh, look at that, CVS, $40 gone. It's already taken care of. And those debit transactions are included in your daily limit. Checking accounts do have a daily spending limit. You usually won't know, you may or may not know because you don't reach it. Often it'll be $500, meaning you can spend $500 on your debit transactions and $500 from the ATM, and you can make credit option transactions. Why? Why would someone purposely choose a debit option? Well, they feel safe entering the PIN. You know, they feel like, well, it's not fraud if it's entering the PIN. If you need cash back, if you have any interest in cash back, if you want it, you have to choose the debit option. Some people just really prefer that real-time withdrawal. They like to see, yep, that's my balance. It was taken out, it was taken care of. And they just kind of consider it a responsible habit to just choose the debit option each time. Grocery stores, drug stores, those are the ones mostly where you'll see options to get cash back. Gas stations, they'll ask, this debit card, is this a debit card? The previous picture showed making a payment online, where it said, enter your debit card number. There are other occasions when you are paying a bill where instead of putting in your debit card number, you actually put in your account information. It'll ask you, would you like to pay by checking account? Please enter your account number, enter the routing number. When you do that, that is a debit transaction. That is a real-time transaction. Questions so far? Guess we got more.
People still write checks, Colleen.
I do not so much still write checks, but yes, they are still a valid payment. They are still a contract. They are still requested and required in certain, situations of down payments. So definitely writing a check. Come on. Would kind of be like using the credit option. So now you're at the register, do you want to choose credit or debit? If you choose the credit option, or let's say you're at a restaurant, the restaurant, you hand them the card, they bring it back, you sign it, you give it back. There's no opportunity for you to put the PIN in, right? There's no option for that. So you do not put your PIN in. Usually you'll sign your name. It's called swipe and sign, or you'll hear it referred to as the swipe and sign. You cannot get cash back. It is not an option. It's not going to pop up. If you say, oh, I would like cash back, they're either going to have to cancel the transaction and start over, or you'll have to do a second one. It comes from your checking account. Anytime you're using your debit card, the money is taken from your checking account. I understand it's somewhat of a misleading term, credit option. When you think credit, you think borrow, you think I don't have to pay back, I have this long period of time. As long as you are using your debit card, moral of the story, the money's always coming from the same place. The difference is instead of going to CVS and spending $20, You walk out of the store, you log into the mobile app, and it says, oh, look at that. CVS, $20 pending. It acknowledges you went to CVS. It acknowledges you spent $20. It's acknowledging that that $20 has one foot out the door, but it still doesn't have the other foot. So if you were to check back maybe the next day, maybe 2 days, it depends on the business. It depends on the amount. It will be cleared. It'll say CVS $20 gone. Now, well, what's really the difference between a pending, a pending purchase or a debit purchase? As far as you're concerned, nothing. It's spent, right? That $20 is spent. You cannot spend it again. So whether you choose the credit option, whether you choose the debit option, you have $20 less in your account. It does not turn into a credit card. It does not mean you pay that $20 back. And these purchases, if they are made with the swipe and sign, are not included in that $500 daily limit. Our teen card only has a $200 daily limit. So you'll want to know if you have an 18-year-old or a college student, they might have like a youth debit card where it's a much lower limit. Why would someone purposefully choose the credit option? You may find yourself in a situation you're not comfortable entering your PIN. You've got the shoulder surfers looking over you. My favorite is when I see a group of friends, or it looks like someone with their siblings, and they say like, oh, let me see your PIN. I bet I know what your PIN is. Is your PIN? It's your birthday. Let me see. And they're all waiting for you to put your PIN in so they can guess who's right. And of course you're like, well, I don't want to put my PIN in. I don't want them to see that. In that case, just choose the credit option. Just sign your name. Some consider it a faster option. You literally just sign your name instead of having type in the PIN, no, okay. Not much faster, but I personally consider it faster. If the purchase you're going to make is more than $500, if you are, heading to college and it's that first day and you're gathering up your books and you've got a stack of books, you can't even see how high the stack of books are. Unfortunately, it's probably going to cost you over $500. It's very, very possible. And you're like, well, I don't want to put it on my credit card. What do I do? Don't worry. You can still use your debit card. You can still pay from your checking account. If they have a debit or credit option, choose the credit option. Money still comes from your checking account. It'll just show as pending and be 100% taken out within a day or two. But you will see your balance change. If it says, if you had $100 and then you went to CVS and you spent that, you took out 40. Now it says balance $60. If you went to the bookstore and you had $100 and you spent $20 and you used the credit option, it'll say present balance 100, available balance 80. As in available, you only have $80 available to you, because this 20 is accounted for. It's already spent. Where might you see these credit transactions? Online shopping. I mean, certainly you're not given a choice with online shopping. I've never seen enter your PIN. Please enter your PIN number into Amazon or an online shopping. Those are all done as credit option transactions. Even though you're using your debit card and it's coming from your debit account, it's going to be a pending charge. At a restaurant, same thing. You don't put your PIN in, for a waiter. They hand you the bill. Your account gets pre-authorized. Then you sign it. Then they send a finalization through the computer. When you pay a bill online, when you either pay a bill from your, just electronic banking, or if you're coming down to the wire and you need to go to that site, oh, my insurance is due today. I need to go to memic.com and pay on the Memic site, enter in my debit card number, or I need to go to DTE energy.org and pay my bill today. And I'll just type in my debit card number and it'll take care of it. So same thing, putting in your debit card number to make a purchase or to pay a bill, that's going to count as a credit transaction. As I said, moral of the story, the money's coming from the same place and you're spending the same amount. So I'm not here to say you should pick debit, you should pick credit. There isn't a better or worse option. It depends on the situation you're in. You can certainly stick with the default. Personally, I usually just stick with the credit option as a default because I like to sign my name. If you think of the word Colleen, it's just, O-L-L-E. It's just a bunch of loops. So, but if I were in a situation where I'm like, oh, I need cash back, I would have to choose the debit option purposely in order to get cash back. So many people, so many adults even are not, let's see, I haven't seen anyone use the store, you get fees charged. So mentioned getting fees charged at the store for getting cash back. I used to be able to say, it's completely free. You only pay for the exact amount of money you pull out. I have seen as time has gone on, especially this year, Kroger is starting to charge, I think, 50 cents to get cash back. Some private businesses, like a mom and pop, might say, well, it's $2 or it's $1 to get cash back. And they can do that 99% of the time. I don't think I've ever been charged for it, and I wouldn't pay. I'd be like, forget it. I'll go next door and do it. But it's not 100% free all the time. You may want to ask. You don't charge for cash back, do you? Or, oh, I was planning on getting cash back. That's free, right? If it is charged, it shouldn't be any more than $1 because the purpose is convenience, right? You're right there. You're saving yourself a trip to the ATM. A lot of adults aren't even necessarily sure when I go into high schools and I say, well, which one do you choose when it says debit or credit? And they all say, well, debit. Why? Well, who knows? Because it's a debit card. Okay, that's not really an informed answer. I mean, it's an answer, but ideally, I chose debit because that's my default. I like to put my PIN in. Well, I choose debit because I needed to get cash back. Or I chose debit because there wasn't a reason to choose credit. It wasn't after my daily limit. I didn't feel uncomfortable. So there should be some sense of informed choice. Not every single transaction you'll have a choice, like ordering online. It's just going to be a credit transaction. Going to a restaurant, just going to be a credit transaction. Sometimes going to a gas station, it'll automatically make it a debit. Or other times you put the card in and it automatically asks you for the PIN. So either way, coming from the same place. Don't get credit option confused with credit card. But it is valuable to know the difference. It's going to come in handy sometime. Sometime when your card's getting declined, and you're like, I don't understand. I have the money in my account. Why is my card getting declined? Well, maybe you're spending more than the limit, and you should choose the credit option. If you want to purchase more than your limit. Sorry, that's what I just said. But know the difference. Just understand that there is a difference. And pending means spent. If you see, well, I spent $20, but it's pending, so I'll just make sure I get $20 and deposit it into my account before tomorrow, and then it should be fine. No, you need the $20 in the account when you make the purchase. No matter what, credit, debit, as long as you're using your debit card, there must be money to pull from. Are there any questions about this, about using your debit card and choosing either the debit option or credit option?
Colleen, does using your debit card keep you from overdrawing your checking account?
That was my next slide.
Oh.
So perfect. So ideally, you only spend as much as you have, right? An overdraft, spending over what you have is when you spend more money than you have available to you. So we're going to look at the generals of an overdraft, specific fees, grace periods. Those are going to be specific to your financial institution and potentially the specific account within the financial institution. Excuse me. But almost any financial institution offers a safety net, a overdraft protection. So scenarios. You'd say to yourself, well, I'm responsible. That's the type of thing that happens to other people. You know, I'm not going to go negative. It happens to the best of us. It's not necessarily because you're so irresponsible and lazy. It's because you got the dates wrong. Or I was sure today was Friday and it's payday, but it's only Thursday. Or, you know, well, I thought it was it's the 1st, but I didn't realize I forgot that my rent comes out automatically on the 1st, so I don't have the money. There are situations where you might just accidentally, you know, go to make a purchase without realizing you don't have the money. There could be a hold. For instance, if someone wrote you a check for $200 and in the morning you put it in the ATM, deposit $200, and then you go to the store and you spend $180. No problem, right? Well, that depends, because how much did you have in your account before you put that check in? Because that check hasn't cleared, right? The check needs day, 2 days to completely clear. It's a valid check. The money, you know, is coming from a valid place. It is now in the new account. Okay, now you can spend that money. So just because you deposit a check doesn't mean the money's available to you right away. Sometimes you might see your paycheck as a deposit pending, you know, on like the Thursday night before payday, you might see a deposit pending. Doesn't mean the money's there yet. So you must be prepared for an overdraft. It could happen. It could happen through no fault of your own. The only scenario I can think of like that is years and years and years ago, my best friend wrote me a check to pay me back for some money, because I was like, look, I really got to buy Christmas presents. You know, you got to pay me back. So she wrote me a check. I was like, oh, and then I went out and bought a bunch of Christmas presents. But I didn't know, because she was too embarrassed to tell me, that she didn't have money in the account. So the check was no good. So the check came back as a returns check, non-sufficient funds. So therefore the money was not deposited into my account. So therefore the purchases that I made, you know, responsibly, all had overdraft fees, because they was all in the negative. You know, it was making purchases into the negative. So she heard about that. But you want to be prepared. You want to have things in place already, safety nets. So having protection or opting out of protection. Let's say you're buying a brand new gadget. Your last paycheck hasn't cleared, so you're unaware that your balance is $150. You think your paycheck is deposited, so you're not worried about it. But realistically, you only have $150 available. Gadget costs $160. You pull out your debit card, and regardless of whether you choose the debit option or credit option, it's going to go through. Now, most credit unions, banks, financial companies, the default is to go into the negative. If you do nothing proactively, if you do not purposely set up something ahead of time, request overdraft protection, route, you know, into your savings account, it will go through. And that's nice, right? We don't want you to put that gadget back. We don't want you to be embarrassed. You know, we'll take care of it. Don't worry. I mean, we'll charge you a little fee for it, but we'll take care of the transaction. Or you may say to yourself, I am purposefully declining overdraft protection because I do not want a transaction to go through. I do not want the ability to go into the negative. So that's another option. Certainly with younger, 18, 19, 20, that's a good place to start. But you don't want to get too comfortable with that of just, well, if I don't have the money, it won't go through. Let's be more specific with how much we have. So if you do have overdraft protection, you could have it set up so that your savings account has a connection to your checking account, so that this person who spent 160 when they only had 150, meaning their account would be negative $10, right? And then they would receive a $25, $30 overdraft fee, and they would be infuriated and say, oh, why didn't I check? I'm so mad at myself. Or if you proactively, set up some overdraft protection and say, have that $10 come out of my savings account. If you have a checking and savings with the same financial institution, that $10 will then come out of your savings instead of going into the negative. Now, that's generally not going to be free. It'll be like $3, $4 as a forced transfer charge, but it's not 30, right? If I made a mistake and I have to pay $4, I'll be upset about it, but not nearly as upset if I have to pay $30, right? Another option, if you're interested, is if you have a credit card with that same financial institution, is you could have that $10 put on your credit card. So some of you might say, oh, well, that's terrible. Now I'm owing the $10 on something I owe, and I'm having to pay interest on. Yes, but if you pay that credit card off right away, if you have that $10 go onto your credit card and you pay the bill in full that month, there's no $4 fee. It's completely free. So there's really no penalty to the overdraft. So you would need to be sure that you pay your credit card in full every month. If you are the type of person who leaves a remaining balance, I would not recommend having overdrafts go onto your credit card. You're not going to see it as clearly. You're not going to recognize it as the growing expense that it is. I would recommend first at least having it come out of your savings account, which also means you have to have money in your savings account, right? If you have $50 in your savings account, I mean, it might help you, but it might not do a whole lot of good. I mean, if you only have $5 in your savings, because technically $5 is the minimum balance, well, that's not going to help you. If you're $10 negative, now it's taking the $5 from the savings, and it's still charging you an overdraft fee because we've gone into the negative on your savings account. So it's having a roadmap, having a plan, setting up an account where it comes from, or making sure that it doesn't go through. However, so if you have the overdraft protection, you avoid getting the card declined. There's no embarrassment. The purchase goes through. The rent gets paid. The Christmas presents get bought, and it's taken care of. And then it's just on you to either pay the fee or, have it set up so you pay a very, very small fee. If you say, no, thank you, I want to opt out of overdraft protection, you avoid the negative balance, you avoid the non-sufficient funds that go along with it. But think about your personal situation. What if you are out in the middle of the night and you blow a tire and you need a tow truck to get home, and I don't have any cash on me, I need a tow truck to get home, I'm going to have to use my debit card. What if I'm going to school up in northern Michigan and I'm driving home for the weekend and it's a terrible snowstorm and it's taking way longer than it thought, and I need gas, I'm desperate for gas, I don't have any cash on me, I'm going to have to use my debit card. Or, you know what, if this rent isn't paid, I might get evicted, so I'm going to pay my rent, and I'd rather pay the $30, fee than not lose the apartment. So each situation is particular. You'll want to think to yourself, do I never, ever want to be able to go into the negative? Is there any situation where I might want to have that backup? I would recommend having a credit card for that, carrying a debit card and a credit card, because then that's your credit card. Your credit card is that kind of emergency safety net. But if you don't have a credit card, you might want to consider the ability to go into the negative. But you absolutely need to know What is it for your account? What do you have? You should know, well, if I go into the negative, it's going to pull from this account and it's going to be this much fee. And if I don't have any money in the account, it'll be this much fee, right? You should know that, because you don't want to be surprised. People are often shocked to see a $30 fee, and that's per item. So you stop at the gas station, $30, then you stop and get ice cream, $30, then you stop at McDonald's, $30. So as long as you are proactive, you really have no reason to be worried. You just want to set things up ahead of time. If you remain in a negative balance for a certain period of time, you can get charged extra fees for not bringing your account, up to zero. What is so having the card declined can be embarrassing. How do we, let's see, how to stay ahead of the fees. Here we go, how to stay ahead of the fees. So how do we avoid it, right? I said it happens to the best of us. So what can we do to avoid it? Certainly monitor your account. You should all have the mobile app. I'm sure you all have a free mobile app for your financial institution. You're standing in line most likely anyway. Take that 30 seconds, just double check. You can, I didn't realize I only had 150. Uh-oh. Well, let me transfer $10 from my savings account, or let me transfer $15 from my savings account into my checking real time while I'm still standing in line.
Yes.
And then it's fine. Then I have enough money by the time I get up front. Setting up alerts, text alerts or email alerts, but I personally like text alerts. That let you know of a low balance. You can set up, text me when I have less than $100. Text me when I have less than $50. Text me again when I have less than $20. Now, that's not going to prevent you from spending that money, but if you wake up in the morning and you see on your phone, oh my gosh, I have less than $10, I doubt that you're going to go stop at the gas station and the Starbucks on the way to work today, because you realize you don't have enough money, whereas you might not have bothered to check if you hadn't gotten that alert. So set up things ahead of time. Consider taking out a credit card. Before I move on, were there any questions on overdraft so far? Overdraft is $1 billion business. Absolutely. Yes, MSGCU is very forgiving. And that's another thing. If you're a responsible person and you get an overdraft, and this is the first time it's happened in 2 years, and you call, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. It's my friend. She wrote me this check. This doesn't normally happen to me. You can see from my previous time with you, I've been a very responsible member, and they're kind of likely to say, okay, we'll waive that fee for you this time. They can look back and say, well, we waived it last month, and actually we waived one 2 months before that. So yeah, no, we're not waiving fees for you anymore. And as far as $1 billion business, yeah, unfortunately it really is, because it's the idea of kind of getting those who don't know better. When I go into high schools and I say, what happens if you don't have the money and you put your card in? It gets declined. Every time I go, everyone, it gets declined. It's not going to let you spend the money. Well, as I mentioned, that's possible. That could be the case if you set it up. But no, if you're just on the assumption that you're going to have the money, I've run into people, someone was prom shopping and they got, the tux and the limo, or they order all kinds of stuff, and they were just like negative $400. It was really unbelievable. So you don't want to be taken advantage of, right? You want to be able to make all of the choices for your account, for what works best for you. Opting in might work best for you. Opting out might work best for you. If we are going back to this, looking at online banking. So online banking, mobile apps, online is where you can set up your alerts. There's all kinds of alerts, low balance, insufficient funds alert, a transaction over the size alert, payment due. I have alerts set for, car payment due in 3 days, car payment due in 1 day. You can set up auto bill pay, and auto bill pay is wonderful. But again, make sure you have the money. If you set up your rent to come out, $800 every month on the first, you need to be confident that there's going to be $800 in that account every single month, or you'll be getting those overdraft fees. There should be one. Maybe it's here. There it is. Sorry. The mobile app. So the mobile app, there is so many things that you can do on your mobile app that you may or may not even know about. So when I was mentioning you're standing in line already, a lot of them have fingerprint login where you don't have to take the, what's my account number again? And I guess it's just a quick fingerprint login. You can transfer funds, as I said, between different accounts completely for free. The $4 transfer fee is when it's that forced transfer because of a negative balance. But if you're just moving your own money around, that's free. Remote deposit capture, taking a picture of your check, being able to deposit a check without leaving the house, without leaving work, can be crucial to some people, hairdressers, landscapers, nannies who receive most of their payment, in checks, and bill pay. I love mobile app bill pay. And I always tell the story that when I first started working at MSGCU, I didn't get an MSGCU checking account because I wanted mobile bill pay, and we didn't have mobile bill pay. And that was a deal breaker for me. And so I was like, no, I'm not going to bring my account here. Now we do have bill pay and a bunch of other cool stuff too. So I do have my checking account here because I want to be able to pay the bill when I think of it, right? I'm driving down the street and I'm like, oh, the Ford dealership. Oh my gosh, I got to pay my car payment. That's right. As soon as I pull in wherever I'm going, I can just pay that bill before I even get out of the car, right? You can write a note to yourself. You can say, oh, I got to remember to do that when I get home. You can send a message to yourself. But for me, it's easiest if it's just you're able to do it right there. Card controls are the ability to turn your debit card on or off in an emergency situation. If you, I'm out and I have my wallet and I go to pull my debit card out and it's not in my wallet. That's awfully strange. That doesn't make any sense. I'm worried, but I don't necessarily think it was stolen because I've only been home, and this is just the first place I've been since I was home. So I'm going to go online. I'm going to turn off my debit card because I don't have it, but I'm going to look around. I think it might be here in the house. I think it might have fallen in the car. And when I do find the debit card, phew, then I can say, turn the card back on. Or I search all day. I look in the car. I look in the house. You know what? I think it's gone. Great. It's been turned off all day already. Call the credit union up. I need you to issue me a new debit card. But it's really helpful, if you notice it's missing on a weekend or, in the middle of the night or before bedtime. You can do that instead of having to wait, to call the next morning. So look through, really just play around with your mobile app. You can find the nearest free ATMs. You can find the nearest branch location. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do really easy. And I remember one day years back, I was shadowing the call center. So I was sitting with someone in our call center and kind of just seeing what a day in the call center was like. And I was absolutely blown away by the amount of people who would call up and say, hi, can you please transfer $30 from my savings into my checking? Great, thank you. Hi, I'm not, can you tell me now what my balance is? Oh, okay, great. And I'm just like, oh my God, you're calling and asking? I might be a little young, and you can call and ask and they'll do it for you. But to me, I'm like, you can just do that on your phone super quick, or you could do that on the computer. So there's a lot of different ways to do things. If you're most comfortable calling, that's available too. But I just felt bad, like, these people can do this all themselves. And I just wanted to mention this. So this card you saw earlier, this is our Achieve Student Visa card at MSGCU. Something that makes it different, makes it a student account, is the spending safeguards, that where it's a $200 limit a day instead of $500, and this roll up the change. And this is only available for our student debit. And I wish it was for our other checking accounts, but maybe in the future. And you'll see this, you've heard about it, maybe in some other commercials. When you make a purchase, you purchase something for $2.50. The 50 cents, the remaining 50 cents between $2.50 and $3 is going to be transferred into your savings account. So basically every purchase you make is just rounded up to the nearest dollar, to the nearest whole dollar. With the incentive being, you don't notice that 50 cents being gone. You don't notice that 23 cents or that 14 cents being gone because it's so tiny. But at the end of the month or at the end of a few weeks, and you're like, oh, look at that. I put $15 in my check savings account, or, I have some money in here. The hardest part about saving is doing it, is parting with the money, is saying, I have $10 and I'm going to put 5 of it where I can't get it. But if you just give me $5 and say, here's $5, then I'm happy. Then I didn't have to go through any sort of, painful putting the $5, feel like I lost it. If you can set up with your institution, with your either credit card, debit card, any situation where you can, slowly have small amounts transferred into your savings accounts, I recommend that. It builds motivation. Once you see the number kind of starting to rise, it makes you want to continue, like losing weight. So, excuse me. So shop around. Not every checking account is the same. Not every debit card is the same. Banks and credit unions are not the same. You'd want to ask, do they assess your overdraft fee at the end of the day if you don't put that money back in the account by the end of the day? Or do they assess the fee right when the transaction happens? If you can help it, you'd want to know so you can put the money in before the end of the day. So this is kind of an overview of checking accounts wherever you might have them. But using the debit card is not interchangeable with a credit card. So I really like to talk about debit cards by themselves, that they have these kind of special tips and tricks. But if you can't remember, if you leave here today and say, what was it that the credit one did again? They both come from the same place. There's no wrong answer, right? There just might be a more helpful answer if you're looking for cash back, or, you want to spend more money. So it's great to know those benefits, but you're not going to make a mistake by choosing the wrong one. In the chat, sometimes everything doesn't add up or hasn't cleared. Acorns, yes. So, and that's a good point. When I first heard about this roll up the change, I was very excited. And my thinking of how I was going to explain it to people is, oh, your purchase is always rounded up to the next dollar. So you're always looking at these nice whole numbers, in when you're checking your transactions. Well, that's not the case. With MSGCU specifically, at the end of the day, so at close of business, it counts up all of the 14 cents, 13 cents, 25 cents, 50 cents, and then deposits that, transfers that one amount over into your savings account. So in the end, it's the same thing, but it doesn't look the same. It doesn't look quite as clear as if everything just costs $10, $11, $12. So you'll want to know that as well. How does this money get transferred? Is it at the same time? I want to be able to read my statement without having to scroll through pages and pages of single cent deposits, yes, Acorns, I believe, was the first ones I heard to come up with that idea, and I think it's a great idea. Is there any other questions or anything, other comments, questions?
Is that the end of the, I'm not trying to be mean or nothing or rude. Is that the end of the presentation?
That's
Okay. So here's a question. I'm not sure if it's checking account related or if you can even answer it, but are you able to talk about mutual funds or no?
I'm not the best person to talk to. We have financial advisors, that work within MSGCU.
Yes.
And anything I could tell you would kind of be a general, they're very good.
Yeah, I just need to set up and keep my appointment, that's all.
Okay, I was gonna say, if you want to give me your email, or I can try to, hook you up with someone or the right person.
That's okay. I'm in touch with the people down there. You guys are very helpful. I appreciate everything you guys have done for me, because it's been a blessing.
Excellent. Glad to hear it. I was slightly disappointed this was a checking presentation, because right before I was coming on, I was checking my email, and one of our employees got a recognition, a good job, Brittany, because she helped this member who came in for something else. And she noticed that he had an auto loan payment with 23% interest and a $500 a month payment. And she got it refinanced down to a 3.24 and $360 a month. So I really wanted to go in and talk about credit and why that was such an insane, amazing thing. And like, how is anyone going around with a 23% auto loan? It was $9,000 in interest he saved, but now I still got to say it. So,
So do you guys have any more questions for Colleen? Quickly, Colleen, other than the obvious, what is the difference between a checking account and a savings account?
The savings account is meant to just sit there. It's intended to not really be used. It does gain interest. You earn money on the money that sits there. It's very small percentage, less than 1%, but it's hard to get at, right? You don't have a debit card for your savings account. If you only have a savings account, you probably don't even get an ATM card. So it's harder to physically access those funds. If you have a checking account, you've got the ATM card, you can pay bills online, pay over the phone, so you have much easier access to the funds, and you have it in different forms. Whereas a savings account, you kind of, let me have my cash. So they're just two containers to hold money in, but the savings account is just heavy, and it's just supposed to kind of sit there. And if it's money that it's your daily money, it's your, this is going to be what I spend on bills, this is going to be what I spend on myself, that goes in your checking account. If it's, here's the 10%, here's the 20%, I'm putting aside that I'm not going to touch, or I'll touch only in emergency, that's the savings account, because the intention is to not use it. We've all been there where we have to dig into the savings a bit, but it's just much easier to access the funds or check the balance of the funds of a checking account.
Are there any requirements to open a checking or a savings account?
Savings account, not really, in the sense that there's, babies that have savings accounts with the parents' names. So as long as you are in good standing. What that means is, if you have an account with MSGCU and it's $200 negative, and you're just so annoyed about it, you're like, forget it. I'm just going to forget that account existed, and I'm going to go over here to Genesis, and I'm going to open up a new checking account here at Genesis. Well, Genesis is going to run a checks system, CHEX, and they'll see, oh, you have a negative balance with MSGCU. So we do not feel comfortable opening any sort of account for you until this gets rectified. So simply because of that fact, it kind of precludes you from getting further accounts. If you don't have any negative, any negative blemishes, and yeah, you've had a positive checking amount, positive savings amount, you can get a savings account for sure. Checking accounts, you need to be 16. Ideally, and we always recommend having a parent or some adult over 18 on the account with them. It's not required. You don't have to. There are those teens that we run into that are like, look, I really don't want my mom to have, access to this money, or, I really don't want anyone else to be able to get at it or check the balance. And that's okay. There's options for that. You need a social security number and you need a government ID. So you can either bring in your driver's license or your passport. And you say, well, I'm 16 and I don't have a driver's license yet, and I don't have a passport. You can bring in your student ID, your photo student ID, if you are under 18. It is assumed that the schools have vetted you and your identity. So you don't necessarily have to wait till you have a driver's license to get a checking account. And you don't necessarily have to have an income. You don't have to prove income. To apply for a credit card, you do have to show that you have some sort of income coming in. But for a checking account, you just have to be able to throw a few dollars in it.
So with regards to opening the checking account, would a state ID be sufficient ID?
Right, a driver's license without the driving part, yes. The state ID, absolutely.
Okay. Okay, good deal. Thank you so much. Are there any more questions before we wrap this up, you guys? All right, then.
Okay.
I want to thank everybody for joining me. And thank you so much for your time, Colleen. We appreciate you. And it was a great lesson today on understanding debit and, well, debit cards with a credit option.
Yeah. Checking accounts.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All righty. You guys have a great day.
Have a better
great
one. Thank you so
afternoon.
much.